he was showing off a penthouse suite in a beautiful neighborhood, so I reached out to him, and now I live in a dope spot. Yeah, so what did happen? Hi, my name is Roman Rosario. I'm from California. I'm in tech, and I moved to Toronto for family reasons, and I was looking for an awesome spot to live, and so I wanted to find a good realtor. I looked on YouTube to try to find, first of all, I just wanted to get some good information on neighborhoods, and I came across Nick Zarlenga. And Nick was showing off an amazing spot, and so I reached out to him immediately, got on the phone. He was very responsive. We got on a Zoom call basically the same day. He told me all about the different neighborhoods in Toronto, and so we started having a conversation. And so I asked him about One Bloor. I asked him about, I had like 5 or 6 buildings, and he gave me the pros and cons of each building. And he knew every building that I brought up, he knew. And he says, I just remember the conversation. It's like, oh yeah, no, that's a really good building. It doesn't have that many elevator shafts. There's gonna be a lot of traffic going through that building. This building over here, I can't remember every single building, but this building over here it looks really good from the outside, but the finishes aren't that great. And so he just really had a unique perspective of each building. And once I heard that, I was like, okay, this person, number one, knows the local market. He knows all of the buildings. He knows the pros and cons. And so we continued our conversation. I knew he was the guy that was gonna help me find the deal that I wanted. Yeah, so one of the most important things in my search criteria was location. And so Nick worked with me to find that perfect location. I needed to have direct access. I wanted to have access to public transportation. I wanted to have easy access to the freeway so I could get to my family. And Nick was able to narrow down to 2 or 3 different neighborhoods that would have worked for me. Once we had those 2 or 3 neighborhoods, then we narrowed it down to the buildings I wanted, what type of amenities I wanted, the size I wanted, the view that I wanted, and I gave him the criteria. Then Nick provided me with a list of 12 buildings that were perfect for me, and so it was just a matter of narrowing down the exact space that would have worked. Yeah, I've worked with a lot of realtors before, and no one has provided me with the level of detail on all the properties. I literally got a packet like that thick. And it was like the location and the amenities and, on each of the buildings. And so I had not even stepped foot in Toronto yet. So mind you, I'm coming from California. I have not stepped foot in Toronto, so I'm looking at buildings sight unseen. Nick sends me a packet of a dozen buildings that I could go look at. And before I even get to Toronto, it feels like I know the neighborhoods. It feels like I know the buildings, and I have everything I need to make a decision. All I have to do is walk into the building, look at the property, and then make the decision to move forward. And so I looked at all of them. We narrowed it down to 4 buildings that we wanted to tour. We toured the buildings. Nick was very professional. He was very responsive. He knew everything about the buildings. He was right on time. And we walked into the buildings. We looked at 4 of them. Narrowed it down to 2, made an offer on 1, and the next week we're in contract. So Nick took everything into consideration, everything that I wanted from a location perspective. And this place checks literally all of the boxes. I'm walkable distance to the lake. I have a park right next to me. I have a ton of amenities. I have a ton of entertainment options. I can literally walk to a baseball game, a basketball game, a hockey game, all within 5 minutes. It's literally the perfect location. And so I really attribute finding this place to Nick. Yeah, so I've been working with Nick now for 2 years. After I got my place, my son actually got accepted to University of Toronto, and so we got another place for him, and same exact experience. Literally knew all the neighborhoods, everything that mattered to my son, everything to help him have the best experience as a new student to U of T. He provided us with a number of options, and within a week we ended up finding the perfect place. You know, it was a very competitive environment, and we locked that thing down within a week, and it was an extremely fantastic experience. And so I recommend everybody to Nick. I think he's the best real estate agent that I've ever worked with, and if anybody is moving to Toronto or looking at moving to a new location in Toronto, I highly recommend working with Nick. Dude,
you know, just like shooting the shit and like.
No, I mean seriously, like I mean you are my first real friend in Toronto, my best friend in Toronto.
Can you hug? Thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
No, for reals. No, seriously, and I actually remember like. You know, the first night we went out to Mr. C's.
Yeah.
You know, we went out to Mr. C's and we had drinks and it was a good time, and it was funny because of like. You actually do. You started like saying, "Oh, you got to meet my friend, you know, Justin. You got to meet my friend Alfredo. You got to meet my friend." And you start naming off all these people. And literally, we're walking back from Mr. C's, and you call Jackie? You call Jackie here in this building, and you're like, "Oh, Jackie, you got to meet my new friend from California," you know. And so you like increased my network like tenfold. Automatically, he showed me all the best restaurants. He showed me all the best places to go. You know, Mr. C's was your recommendation. I love that place, you know. And so, and then not only that, like your knowledge behind all the places is like unmatched because of, you know, Mr. C's, you're like, "Oh yeah, the owner of this." You tell me the story about the tiger and all this stuff. And I'm just like, and I just repeat those stories to people that I come by. I was like, "Oh yeah, the owner of this, you know, how we got his start was this club, and he had a tiger that got loose in the streets." And so, you know, it just increases my knowledge and my network. You know, it's really awesome.
It's such like a genuine like just answer like conversation.
How do you feel about Nick?
Off the camera, I feel Nick's dope, dude. Nick's the best person in the fucking world. Nah, Nick's a piece of shit. Nah.
Fuck Nick.
Fuck Nick. I'll never use him again. I use him twice, then never again.
Like, this is the opposite. Put this as a beginning.
Dude, I almost used you 3 times, dude. If that.